What's going on YouTube? Brandon here. We're going to be going over the rankings of the cars for the Eliminator as I see them after 500 victories in the mode. These are just my subjective assessments based on my gameplay, so your opinions may differ. Also, when I'm quoting speeds, those are the speeds I've tested in the Eliminator on the freeway by driving from the Clover interchange to the final four-way interchange on the West Coast. And also, this is just going to be kind of the general ranking of the cars. If you want to get really granular, you could differentiate it based on ranking the cars for challenge races and then different rankings for the final, which will be different, and then, based on region. But that's too much. So this is just my overall rankings of each car in each rank. So without further ado, let's get started. First one, rank 1, VW Beetle. Nothing to say there. It's the starting car. Get out of it as soon as possible. Rank 2, the best car I think is the Audi Rs6. This car has a top speed in like the 180 range, which is just absurd. Actually, it's like 193 now I look at it, which is just crazy for a rank 2. So this is by far the best rank 2 car. In second place, I would put the Golf. Similar to the Audi, it handles well. It's not quite as fast, but it's a solid car. No problems there. Next, I'd put the Porsche. Good top speed. Doesn't handle as well as the two in front of it. Next is the Peugeot. Handles fine. It's just really slow. I think, let me look at it, see. Yeah, its top speed is about 144, so that's significantly lower than the three above it. And finally, in rank 2, we have the Ford Escort. This car is garbage, difficult to control, has actually a lower top speed than the rank 1 Beetle, so it has a little bit better acceleration, hypothetically, than the Beetle, but it's hard to drive, so get out of that. All right, for rank 3, best rank 3 car is the Volvo. Volvo has a pretty high top speed. I think it's like 175. It handles well. It's relatively heavy. It kind of punches through logs and stuff. It's really good rank 3 car. I'd definitely pick that one if you're stuck in rank 3. Next is the Veloster. Kind of the same idea, but it's not as good at punching through stuff. It seems to be a little bit slower accelerating. It's not as good as the Volvo, but it's still decent. Next is the Quattro. Relatively quick. Relatively good top speed, a little bit harder to control. I think it's rear-wheel drive. Feels like rear-wheel drive. I haven't looked. So that would be my third place. Next would be the Ford Focus. It's just not fast enough to be competitive with the other ones. Top speed's like 155. And then finally we have the Porsche Macan RR. Both this and the JCW Buggy are really not good in the Eliminator because of their kind of sluggishness and slow top speed. Although the Porsche Macan actually beats the JCW Buggy in pretty much every category, so they should have their rankings switched. But either way, stay out of this car unless you're stuck in the jungle or you're stuck with it. All right, rank 4. Best car by far is the BMW X5. It has a really, really high top speed for the rank. I think it's, let's see, 180, 182, which is really good. It's an SUV, so it can plow through obstacles pretty well. It handles a little bit sluggishly, but its top speed and stuff make up for it. Next, we have the Lancer. This is my subjective rating. The Lancer and the Subaru are pretty much the same car. Which one do you like better? The Subaru is a few miles per hour faster, and it feels like it has a little bit less oversteer, whereas the Lancer is a little bit slower. It has a little bit more oversteer, which I just prefer subjectively. I like the feel of it. But either of these two cars are good. Just pick the one you like better. Next, we have the Audi S1. Nothing really to say here. It's just, it is where it is. It's a little bit slower than the cars in front of it, but it's definitely better than the mini JCW Buggy, John Cooper Works Buggy. This thing's a piece of crap. It has a lower top speed than the rank 1 Beetle, and it's the same. I think it's the Ford Escort. It does nothing better than the Porsche Macan, which is actually ranked below it. So this is a piece of trash. Get out of this car and avoid it as much as possible. All right, moving on to rank 5. My favorite car, there's really two good cars in rank 5, which is the Ford Focus RS and the Maserati. I prefer the Ford Focus. I like its snappier handling. It seems a little bit quicker. It does have a little bit lower top speed than the Maserati, but I just prefer the handling of the Ford Focus, so that's my number one pick here. Top speed is 177, whereas the Maserati is 183. So, pretty comparable, but this one's just a little bit snappier handling. But either of these are pretty good for rank 5. Next, I put the Ford Bronco. This is pretty good truck. I like driving it. It's stable. It handles well. It's just a little bit slow in relation to the other cars in this rank. It has a top speed of 154, so it's leaving a little bit on the table there. Next would be the Porsche 911. This car handles pretty well, especially for, I think it's a rear-wheel drive car. It has good acceleration, but unfortunately it tops out at a really low top speed. I think it's like 130, yeah, 135. So the low top speed kind of hurts it. It just can't keep up with other cars in this rank over long distances. Finally, the Ford F-150 Birdie. I just dislike this truck. It's rear-wheel drive, tends to spin out a lot, or it spins its wheels a lot. It's wide, so it tends to hit obstacles, and it's just not a good car compared to the other choice in this rank. So I'd stay away from this one if possible. But if you get it, it's not the end of the world. All right, moving on to rank 6. The best car in rank 6 by far is the Audi Rs7. This car has an absolutely absurd top speed for its rank. You could get a 209 miles an hour on the freeway, which just smokes everything else up to this point. So yeah, real good car, handles well. Not quite as good off-road, but it's high top speed, so it doesn't matter. Next would be the Porsche 959 Rally. Similar to the Audi Rs7, it's a little bit slower in terms of its top speed. Top speed on this one is, let's see, 174. It's also a little less stable, likes to flip over a little bit more, but it's still a really good car. You can win the final with either of these, although I've had a lot more success with the Rs7. Next would be the Exocet. This is the best buggy, or at least low-level buggy in this game, not counting like the rank 10 ones. This game mode handles really, really well. Trouble with this one is it has a terribly low top speed. Top speed is 136, so it's basically the same as the Porsche 911. So it just, it struggles, especially in final races where there's a lot of distance to cover. It just can't keep up, and it gets slowed down a little bit more by obstacles than these other ones do. Next would be the Nomad. Nomad, another buggy. Tends to spin out a little bit more, doesn't handle as well as the Exocet, but it does have a little bit of higher top speed. So if you are going to the final race where there's, a little bit more chance to stretch the legs and get up to top speed, this one has top speed around 150, so about 15 mile an hour advantage over this. So yeah, you can pick that one. Last place here is the Chola. Some people like the Chola because they like the suspension. I've got no complaints about the suspension, really. The trouble with the Chola is it's so light that it just gets stopped by the most absurd stuff. You bump into a log going 100 miles an hour, it'll just dead stop. You try to overcome some grass, the grass will just slow you down to the point where you're completely stopped and you can't overcome it. Small fence post, same thing. So this thing will lose you the dumbest races, and I would stay out of it as much as possible. Especially if you're anywhere near a jungle, you'll just lose if you have this thing most of the time. All right, moving on to rank 7. Best car in rank 7, as far as I'm concerned, is the Mercedes GT4. This thing is really good. Top speed is insane. It can get up to 220 on the freeway. It's basically a rank 8 to 9 car as far as its ability. I don't know why it's in rank 7. I guess it has a little bit slower acceleration, but a really good car. Not much else to say there. This rank's a little bit tougher. I think, let's see, this is a tough one. I think I'd probably go with the Cayenne Turbo second, just because it has the benefits of an SUV, and it has a pretty high top speed, about 180, 190, somewhere in there. Well, let's see, 186. So it's pretty good. It's a little bit, favors the road a little bit more. Doesn't do quite as good off-road as some of the other choices in this rank, but it's good. Next, I would actually, between the Bronco and the Trailcat, I think I'm going to go with the Trailcat. It just seems a little bit better at what it does, which is off-roading. It seems to do off-roading the best of anything up to this point. And it does pretty well on-road as far as its top speed. It's not terrible. Let's see where we're at here. Yeah, 168, not bad. The Bronco has a little bit higher top speed at 179, but I found that the Bronco is a little bit top-heavy, and it likes to flip over a lot more than the Trailcat for whatever reason. So for that reason, I mean, these are interchangeable, whichever one you like better. I just happen to like Trailcat better. And finally, in last place in rank 7, we have the Ferrari 330 P4. Decent top speed. It just doesn't do well off-road. Doesn't do well quickly changing directions, especially in the dirt. Has a pretty good top speed, though, 203. So if you're going into a final race where you're near a road, this isn't a terrible one to have. I mean, you can certainly win the final with it. But for challenge races, it's not so good, especially if you're like in the mountain. All right, moving on to rank 8. As far as I'm concerned, the best car in rank 8 is the GTR. Second place would be the Lambo. Both these cars are very similar. It's almost like the Lancer Subaru comparison down there. The GTR has a little bit lower top speed at 209 compared to the Lambo at 217, but the GTR seems to handle off-roading a little bit better. The suspension's a little bit better for that. And since a lot of the Eliminator is off-roading, I think this one has a little bit of advantage, but either of these are really good for rank 8, no problems there. Next, I would say is the Pro Truck. This thing's pretty good, especially if you're in the dunes or in the forest. It's okay. It's a little bit wide, so it's harder to thread a needle compared to some other cars, but it's good powering through logs, stuff like that, handling jumps. Takes a little bit of getting used to as far as the handling because of the soft suspension, so you have to anticipate turns a little bit more and be a little bit more careful with your acceleration and transfers of weight. But yeah, it's a good car. No complaints there. Next, we have the Metro. The Metro is a really good car as far as acceleration is concerned and handling. The trouble is it has a very low top speed. It's basically the rank 8 version of the Exocet or the Desert. It has the same top speed. Let's see what it's at. Yeah, 133. So this top speed is actually even lower than that of the Exocet. So if you're in short challenge races, the thing's okay, but for the final race, it can suffer a lot because of the long distances. Last place, we have the Chevy Camaro. Oh, one more thing about the Metro, it likes to flip over. So yeah, be aware. Chevy Camaro, this thing's a piece of crap. It's rear wheel drive. It likes to spin out. It seems to have no off-roading ability whatsoever. If you're on the volcano, good luck. Yeah, this thing is really bad for its rank. I mean, I think it should be like a rank 5 or 6. For the final race, that's not so bad. If you can get up to speed and you're on a road, it's okay. But if you crash into anything, you have to start from 0, you're in trouble. So stay out of this car as much as possible. All right, rank 9. Rank 9, there's really 2 standouts as far as I'm concerned. The first one would be, this is my favorite, which is the VW Rally Beetle. This thing is kind of the best balance in this rank of top speed and handling and suspension. The rally cars basically run the gamut from really fast but not as good suspension to really good suspension and not as fast, and it's pretty linear. So this one has the best balance. I think top speeds, let's see, top speed's 191 and it handles pretty well and it has a decent suspension. My second favorite in this rank would be the Group A. The Group A has an insane top speed. It's 218 miles an hour, which is over 20 miles an hour faster than everything else in rank 9. But it's also got the worst suspension for off-roading of any of these. So, you know, you trade off some stuff, but this is a really good car. No complaints. Just be aware it likes to flip a little bit more. Next would be the Fiesta. Fiesta is kind of more on the suspension side and handling side instead of the speed side, but really good. Any of these rank 9 cars, rally cars you can win the final with. Next is the Focus. This one's the slowest of the rally cars. Let's see what its top speed is. Top speed's 174, but it handles probably the best of them, has the best suspension of them for off-roading. So, you know, it's just, yeah, pick the one you get and you should be happy with it. In last place, we have the Trackhawk. Trackhawk's not a terrible car overall. It's just terrible compared to the other rank 9 choices. The Trackhawk is basically the rich man's version of the BMW X5. So the BMW X5 is really good for its rank. Trackhawk is out of place in its rank. I'd probably put it in rank 6 or 7 because it really only does, its top speed's okay. Let's see, top speed's 187. So, I mean, the rank 2 Audi basically has that top speed. So yeah, Trackhawk, not good. Stay out of that car if possible. All right, rank 10. First place in rank 10 as far as I'm concerned is the RS200. Ford Brockie is 1A, if you want to call it that. These are both excellent cars. It just comes down to which one you like better. The Brockie has a higher top speed of 225, whereas the Hoonigan seems to top out around 210. The Hoonigan, though, it's more responsive, it's narrower, it's snappier with handling, it's faster with braking. This is better with suspension, but in most of the map where you're going to be racing, the benefits of this suspension aren't enough to outweigh the benefits of everything else this one brings to the table. So I prefer the Hoonigan, but if you get either of those, you should be the favorite in the final race. This one's really good if you're out in the dunes. On the west, it might have an advantage over the Hoonigan, but everywhere else, I prefer the Hoonigan. Next in rank 10 would be the AMG 1, specifically with the aero package not deployed. If you deploy the aero package, it slows everything down, lowers the suspension, which makes it worse off-road. So there's really no reason to do it in the Eliminator. This is the fastest car in the game mode by a large margin. Top speed's 253 miles an hour, and second place is 228. So yeah, it's smoking everybody out. So that's what this brings to the table. And it's not terrible off-road. It just has such crazy top speed. It can just overpower a lot of stuff. Next is the rank 10 Lambo Centenario. Um, not a great car for its rank. It handles pretty well on road, and that's about it. It doesn't have the top speed or acceleration that these other three have, and it doesn't have the acceleration even. Like this Group A will smoke the Centenario in most races. So yeah, I think this is a little bit misplaced, but it's a very strong car. I would take it, most of the time over everything below for rank 8 and below. And I would probably take these rally cars over that if we weren't starting on a road for a race. In last place for rank 10, we have the Funko F9. Crazy top speed and acceleration. It's 219 mile an hour top speed. But the problem with this one is that it's a one-trick pony. It likes to flip over a lot. It has such a soft suspension that anytime you're accelerating or decelerating, the weight transfer makes it really difficult to turn. It has crazy amounts of understeer under acceleration. So yeah, it's not a good car for this rank. Top speed is really all it has going for it. So I would stay away from the Funko F9. I would take any of these rally cars and probably the Nissan and the Lambo, and maybe even the Mercedes over the Funko for a final race. So yeah, that's how I would rank the cars and how I kind of approach it in the Eliminator. So hopefully this is helpful for people. Like I said, these are my subjective opinions, and you could get more granular and say, hey, for the final race, these rankings aren't right. But for general gameplay in the Eliminator, this is what I've found over my 500 wins out of 830-ish games at this point. Anyway, if you have any questions, comments, put them down below. Thank you.